Welcome back. Today we're making this absolutely delicious and colorful Funfetti banana bread. To start, we're adding a third of a cup of unsalted butter and a half a cup of granulated sugar into a large bowl. We're going to mix this together on a medium to high speed with a hand mixer or a stand mixer until it looks nice and fluffy and the mixture has become lighter in color. Once you get to that point, it's time to add in our eggs. So for this recipe, we use 1 whole egg and 1 egg white. We're going to mix that together, and at first it's going to look kind of separated and creepy, but it will come together the more you mix. Be sure to scrape the sides of the bowl as you go so that you really get the egg fully incorporated with all those bits of sugar. Once your mixture is nice and smooth, you're going to add in 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and you're going to save the remaining 3/4 of a cup for later. Next, you're going to add in a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder. You're going to mix that together until the flour is mostly incorporated on a low speed, just until you can't really see streaks of flour anymore. Our batter is pretty thick at this point, so we're going to mix in 1/3 of a cup of whole milk. We're going to incorporate that on a low speed, and once our batter has loosened up a bit, we're going to add in our remaining 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. Throughout this process, feel free to scrape around the sides and bottom of your bowl as much as you need to make sure that all of your ingredients are getting mixed together properly. This will help ensure that you don't overmix your batter. So once our flour is mixed in, it's time to add in our star ingredient, which besides the sprinkles is actually our bananas. So we're adding in 1 cup of mashed bananas that have been mixed with 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice, which not only helps brighten their flavor, but also helps prevent them from browning as they sit out on your counter. So once those are mixed in and your batter looks pretty smooth, it's time to fold in our last ingredient, which is 2/3 of a cup of rainbow sprinkles. I really love to use rainbow jimmies, which are the longer rainbow sprinkles. They work well and they don't bleed a ton once they're in your batter. So our batter is all ready to go. We're pouring it into an 8.5 by 4.5 inch greased loaf pan, and we're going to bake it at 350 degrees for about an hour. So while that's baking, we're working on our glaze, which is super simple. It's just a tablespoon of unsalted butter, 1 1/2 cups of powdered sugar, and 2 tablespoons of whole milk. You just kind of mix it together with a spoon until it's nice and smooth like this. I like to do the finger test here, which you just drizzle the glaze over your finger, and if it keeps its shape, you know it's the right consistency. So once I let my banana bread cool for about 10 minutes in the pan and I removed it from its loaf pan, I started to add this drizzle over the edges of my banana bread and also fully covered the top. So you don't have to add quite this much glaze if you don't want to, but I really think it takes this Funfetti banana bread to the next level and almost makes it reminiscent of a cake, which I think is really fun. So after topping it with some additional sprinkles, because you really can never have too many, it was finally time to cut in and do a taste test. And I was so excited for this. It took all of my self-control to wait this long to cut in. So it was really fun because some of the glaze kind of drizzled over the pieces as I cut them, of course because my banana bread was still a little bit warm, which honestly, you should wait. It's easier to cut if it's cooled, but man does it taste good warm. This Funfetti banana bread really lives up to its name, and if you want the recipe, it's also up on Chelsweets.com.